So these are the few housekeeping instructions which I was telling. Now, coming back to the control of the data and the information management in the laboratory, and whether it is related to the ISO document and the traceability of the control of the data and the information itself. So I've just taken the screenshots from the ISO 15189-2022. And the clause number 7.6 is the one which hits upon the control of the data and the information management. In this, the most important thing we have to know is that the document refers to the laboratory information system, which includes management of the data and the information contained in both computer and non-computerized system. That means whether you are doing a manual or a computer-assisted laboratory information archivals as well as that of the real-time management, it comes with the gamut of the laboratory to manage these activities from their side. Associated risk is also one of the things which we have to consider, and it is as per the ISO 22367 which we have to manage. In addition to this, who is the authority and the responsibility for the information management? The laboratory is the ultimate responsible persons for the laboratory information management. That's why the laboratory directors and the leads who are working in the divisions of the laboratories are very much tensed or stressed when it comes to the LIS itself. Now, what else does the ISO 15189 says about the information management system? The information management system do include collection data, processing data, recording, reporting, storage, or the retrieval of the examination data itself. So that's very, very important. The other important thing is that validation of the supplier and the verification, which is very important. So if you're going for a third party, then we have to do the verification. Even if it is an inbuilt software, we have to do a verification of the LIS. That's very important. The next important thing is that documentation, which is readily available by the authorized users, including for the day-to-day functions, should be available. So suppose you have an SOP for the LIS, then it has to be available for the authorized users at any point of the time. Most important thing is the cyber security, which we have to take into account to protect the system from the unauthorized access and safeguard the data against the tampering or loss itself. The data can be personal data. It can be confidential information with respect to that of the serology or to that of the pregnancy itself. Operated in an environment where it complies with the supplier specification in case of a non-computerized system. That means if you're going to be a manual method, it should compile with that of the supplier and safeguard against the accuracy of the manual vulgarization also. Maintained in a manner that ensures the integrity of the data and the information, which includes recording of the system failures. So suppose this computers or the LIS, what you are doing is going to have a system failure, you have to have an immediate corrective action and a preventive action, which you have to do. The most important thing is that calculation and the data transfers should be checked in appropriate and systemic manner. Some examples for this is that suppose you have got EGFR to be done. Then you have a calculation parameter which comes, and the parameter is not from the machine. From the machine, we are getting only the creatinine or the cystatin values, but you have to add on the data from that of your body weights and the nomograms itself. So this can be automated and the calculation data has to be checked in a systemic manner. Now coming to the extension of the 7.6 clause, the laboratory should have a downtime plans itself. Okay, so downtime plans has to be there, and offsite management is also to be done. Whenever you have got a downtime of this, the laboratory information system has to have a cloud management system where they ensure that the provider and operator of the system complies with all the applicable requirements of this document. Now coming to what does the ISO 22367 shares with that of the information management is that with respect to that of the risk management. The laboratory should have a risk management system where it is able to adapt and implement the risk management for the laboratory information system also. So this is an overview of the ISO 15189 in conjunction with that of the control of the data and the laboratory information itself. So with this, we will take across to that of another platform where we have to understand that do we have any guidelines pertaining to that of the laboratory information system, where it aligns with that of the ISO 15189 to give us a clear roadmap about the checklist before we venture into any of the LIS system itself. Now, currently, the LIS system is also being now getting into the artificial intelligence mode, where the information system can go beyond just only transmitting the information, but also can help up in data checks, monitoring the quality control systems, as well as getting on to that of the purview of the clinical decisions itself. So let us see how we can progress, where we can integrate the artificial intelligence to our laboratory information system itself. This is one of the paper which had been published in 2024 to talk about the ideal laboratory information system and a checklist for the modern labs. So the discussion will pertain to this checklist aligned with that of an ISO 15189. And later on, we will see that how SAIL, which is an artificial intelligence based LMS from Sukraa, can help us to give solutions for our laboratory operations. Now, why are CAP guidelines important? We know that the College of the American Pathologists is a huge group of pathologists who have members from all over the world. The driven for this checklist, the drive for this checklist is basically from whom? Is from the pathologists who are using and designing the standardized practices, improve quality and ensure consistent and accurate reporting of the patient data itself. So what is the purpose of the CAP? The CAP gives you a rigorous standards for the clinical laboratories, helps us to draw the laboratory operations, personnel qualifications, quality control, PT, and management of the laboratory information itself, and relevance to that of the LIS and the goal, which will make us to understand how we can go ahead with the accreditation, resulting in commitment to quality and patient safety. Now, what are the needs of the modern LIS system? A modern LIS system should be having greater flexibility, should have scalability and integration, gives us a smooth user experience and compliance supported tailored to the complex need of today's diagnostic labs. So the today's diagnostic labs do have complex testing as well as core testing. In addition, we also have cytogenetics as well as NGS, which are complex diagnostic testing itself. To stay competitive, compliant, and effective, and ready for the future advancements in the diagnostics, your LIS should be having all this scalability. Now, before we get into any LIS, the most important point what we have to understand is that whether the LIS provider will be having the security, which we call it as a cyber security or the information security. The information should be authenticated, have a secure access, should be able to have a remote accessibility whenever there is a downtime, have accessibility to the mobile devices and the gadgets for the authorized users itself. Will be able to use the electronic signatures as and when needed for the authentication and the traceability of the person who has taken the responsibility to validate the results itself. So before we dive into the LIS, a few handy definitions which we should understand are these. What is artificial intelligence itself? Very simple. The intelligence used by the gadgets or the machine or the software to perform the task which we normally form from the human intelligence, like understanding the patterns, solving the problems, making the decision, and enables the copy to do like that of the human thinking in a smart way. For example, you have a QC data which is normal. The artificial intelligence should be able to tell that, okay, the QC today is normal, the reports can be signed off. This is a simple example of artificial intelligence in an LIS. Next, coming to the machine learning. For the artificial intelligence to be robust, the machine learning is very important component. What does it mean? You have to feed the data which may be normal, abnormal, so that it will be able to understand this is normal, this is abnormal, and these tasks are mundane and it is routine and need not be having a step-to-step instruction. So you can also have a lean programming based upon the machine learning. Coming to the word middleware. Middleware refers to a software that actually acts as a bridge between the machine and the laboratory information and the LIS, that is The data from the machines are given to that of the LIS. The LIS is next going to facilitate to understand that whether this information is right or not according to the software which has been prepared. Let us go back to the QC example which I had given. Suppose you're using a machine from a vendor and he says that he has a middleware which is going to help you out for your day-to-day operations. It's going to say that, okay, the data from the QC today from the machine X is right. So now the reports from this machine can be transferred to the LIS. However, this middleware cannot be compensating for the artificial intelligence which the whole laboratory will be adopting rather than only to this particular machine. Now, what are the key LIS functionalities which we have to check into account? An ideal LIS should be able to have computerized provider order entry forms which have built-in decision support. This means to say that the person who uses the software at the front desk, who are usually non-laboratory person, especially the operational managers or the CEOs, COOs, or someone who is in the building desk, should be able to easily understand the directory of the operations, which is also called as a test catalog. And it should also be able to view the profiles, what you're going to off. And sometimes it should be able to give you autofilling of the fields from the prescription itself. Some of the prescriptions when we get from the doctors, the LIS should be able to scan that and also give us what is the decipherance of this scanned material itself. That means, suppose you have a test request form, I scan at the billing, the LIS should be able to say that these are the tests which has been ordered by the doctor XYZ. That becomes an ideal LIS itself. Next, the sample travels. You have a sample collection, sample accession, and a processing desk itself. A machine which is going to help you out here is an LIS itself. The LIS is going to track the sample journey and help us to have the sample custody itself. It is able to give us a receipt, provide a unique identifier with a label, and generate a barcode for sticking on to that of the containers itself. So here you will be able to get a positive identification, which is very important. And according to the JCI and all the accreditation boards, we require to have a good captured barcode with test list requests, patient details, medical ID information, or EMR information itself. It should be able to generate a chain of custody to track the specimen, where on real time the specimen is, whether it is in the pneumatic chute or it is on a transportation from the lab A to lab B. The automation can also get into that of the pre-analytical automation, where you will be able to get the middleware seamlessly processing the samples. Now coming to the analytical area. So this was something to do with that of the billing to that of the phlebotomy, and we get into the analytical management system itself. What does the analytical management system should do? In the pre-analytical phase, should be able to interface with the machine so that the tubes can be tracked and it can move according to that of the divisions. The reagents and the instruments availability on the machines has to be checked, which can be done by the LIS itself, and manage the work list for today, and also give a brief history of about what is the incomplete tests which are being pending on the list itself. In the analytical phase, the artificial intelligence clubbed with that of the LIS should be able to do a proper instrument interfacing, which connects every instrument in the laboratory. Data transfer from this directly from that of the machines to that of the LIS, eliminate the manual data entry itself, which is a major source of error. The most important thing here is analyte calibration and QC bracketing itself. So what do you mean by analyte calibration and QC bracketing? The proper messages from the LIS should be able to tell to a user that the calibration for that particular analyte has to be done today. Or it should be able to say that calibration has expired. I will not be able to process the sample. So whenever you have a QC bracketing system, the test which has been having a failure of a QC will not be processed. Thereby, you will be having a patient safety to know that the processing has been stopped and have to do a calibration of an analyte, run the controls, to get us that these things are fine, and then go ahead with that the processing of the serum sample itself. Equipment and workflow management is the next important data where an LIS should be giving you with that of an artificial intelligence itself. The system flags potential equipment maintenance or interferences which are needed for the various workflow itself. For example, suppose a EDTA sample tube has come to a chemistry analyzer where it requires to do glucose or urea creatinine. Immediately, the workflow management AI should be able to say that the tube has been mislabeled to get into that of the chemistry analyzer itself. Now, coming to the post-analytical phase, what the LIS and the AI should be able to do is validate the results, report the results, and store the results for the archival and the research purpose. This is very important because result validation occurs as per the reference ranges and the delta checks which you have fed. The LIS should be able to have a robust predefined reference ranges and the delta checks according to the global guidelines from the CLSI itself. The result reporting should be easy to read formats for both the clinicians and the patients. It should be able to flag critical or abnormal results. There's a difference between abnormal results and the critical results itself. What do you mean by abnormal results? Any values which are lower or higher are abnormal results. What do you mean by critical results? Critical results are the ones where it is going to trigger a clinical care management if the values are higher or lower. Example, we'll take a common example of potassium. If the potassium value is more than 6.5, it is a critical value. So now the clinician has to be alerted that the potassium value for such and such a patient is higher and notify the healthcare provider to take clinical management scenarios itself. The data storage and integration should be easy for historical comparison. That means delta check should be easier and also help us in research and predictive analysis and audits. So that's about the analytical management system. So when you're talking about an LIS where the AI can help you, these are the focus areas which you are working on. Coming to that of the clinical management system, how an ideal LIS should be able to help us out is in result entry and verification itself. The data should be able to be flexible data support. See, in our laboratories, we have got data like quantitative data you have got, semi-quantitative data you have got, qualitative data you have got, you have text, you have images from the histopathology, microbiology, as well as from the immunofluorescence laboratories. You have got semi-quantitative reports for the urine analysis. You have qualitative reports from that of the serological values what you get. So the data flexibility should be given in your LIMS so that I'll be able to key in any of the formats. Have an auto verification or an automated validation as per the global guidelines, which is very much essential. Categorizing and routing to that of the routine, normal, abnormal, critical or stat in a dashboard. And multi-level certification for authentication of the reports from two different security levels and seamless integration between the outreach laboratories and external laboratories. This is very important. When you're outsourcing any sample, the sample report from the external laboratories should get integrated seamlessly into our LIMS what we are using. Result reporting should be having a comprehensive reports, display the reports in a proper way, highlight the critical and abnormal reports properly, and customization to the laboratory staff and the clinician and the patient, which has to be given immediately, which has to be given in an elective manner. Advanced features like sophisticated graphing and hyperlinks to the interpretive information, which adds on value for the CDSs, that is clinical decision services, and the traceability of the guidelines itself makes user friendly and gets you a traceability of the global guidelines. Expert commentary can also be added for better result interpretation. Now, moreover, we'll be having the operational excellence also should be brought into the LIMS. And what are these? These are stock management, financials, which will be able to generate a real-time billing, credits, insurance, as well as that of the employee forms, which has come for that of the approvals, inventory management, personnel management, and IT infrastructure, including abiding to that of the HL7 itself. In addition to this, today, when we are talking in India, the NABH, the NABL, as well as that of Government of India has told that it has to be coded with compliance with two international billing codes. One is that of the LOIN, which is the Logical Observation Identifiers Names and Codes, and ICD, which is the International Classification of the Disease, which actually helps for taking up the epidemiological data for that region. And this data can be shared with the public health systems where you can give support to the clinical research itself. So this means that the LIMS or the LIS, what you call, should be having all these requirements before you get into that of a vendor signature itself. Now, coming to that of the role of the AI in all these places where we are looking into, whether it is analytical management or the clinical management, and do Sukraa software align with that of these requirements? First and the foremost is that we should have a good real-time dashboard, which can give you the glimpse of what is happening in the laboratory operations today like this. So it should be able to say whether you have a linearity, accuracy, which has been moved off, and any of the machines have got the outlier of the QCs itself, and it should be able to give you how many of the machines have been utilized and what is the staff productivity itself and how many of them are having an on-time delivery itself. So this dashboard should be optimal. Next, specimen quality assessment, whether your artificial intelligence can have specimen acceptance and rejection criteria based upon photographic assessments and the spectrophotometric assessments itself. For example, hemolysis, ictus, and lipemia can be defined and stopped even before it is going into the machines itself, which may cause you rejection and time delay for the reporting itself. Able to detect clot detection, especially the fibrin threads itself. Next, AI should be able to prevent the downtime. How, whenever you have got a calibration outlier or the QC data outlier, or if there is a drift or a trend, the machine is going to flag off saying that please do the calibration to me before I accept the samples for the testing. So this, in this way, it becomes proactive for the clinicians who are managing the laboratory to make sure that the calibration is required for this machine. The most important application of the artificial intelligence is in the CDSS, which we call it as the clinical decision support system. Whenever you're having an integrated diagnostic, see, you have to understand very clearly that the middleware is subjected only to the vendor particular directed machines. It is not able to have an integrated diagnostics. What do you mean by integrated diagnostics? The LIMS should be having an artificial intelligence software which can integrate the clinical data, patient history, imaging, genomics it is available, and the data from the hematology, clinical pathology, coagulation systems, to that of the serology, chemistry, to be seen as a patient per se. So those integrated diagnostics are going to give you a set of potential treatment plans for the laboratorians also. Result interpretation should be available as a second opinion on complex or ambiguous cases, especially for the histopathology, cytology, and microbiology. Most important when you are doing a laboratory auto verification is the delta checks. The delta checks refers to the automated result validation tools which compares a result current test report to the previous report on a historical basis. And if there is a difference between these two with a predefined limit as set by the global standards and the CLSI guidelines, the LIS automatically flags that the normal reports which are of the current standing prospects may not be released, and it requires a review by the technologist or a scientific officer or a pathologist or a microbiologist. So this prevents something to do with that of a mismatch, sample mix-up, or a collection error, or an instrument malfunction itself. Next is whenever you are implemented auto verification, which releases the results with a set of predefined rules, including the delta checks, it becomes auto verified. So the mundane work for the routine pathologist or the microbiologist or a biochemist can be surpassed. So what happens if you have got 100% is the test reports what you have to sign. If you have an auto verification, 70 to 80% when they are having the set rules as defined by your laboratory, it gets auto validated. Only about 15 to 20% may require to have an integrated diagnostic approach to make sure that you verify the data. Now, how the AI can help in a smart report generation, how it will be presentable to our laboratory as well as to that of the consumers. Now, it should be able to be divided into two groups. For the clinician, it should be able to get on to the clinical decision support. Example, if a clinician sees a CBC and he finds out that this is having a microcytic hypochromic anemia with abnormal indices, he might just click on that report and that will immediately say that please order for hemoglobin electrophoresis suspecting hemoglobinopathy. So that helps us, the clinician, to go for a reflex testing with that of the hemoglobinopathy detection itself. Next, it will also be able to add on the medical history medication imaging, which might help him in clinical decision support itself. Narrative summaries, which helps us to tell that elevated glucose and HbA1c, consider that patient's family history suggests type 2 diabetes may help out. Predictive analysis is also important. What do you mean by predictive analysis? If a patient is repeatedly coming to a laboratory or a hospital with his own data, we are going to convert that into a forecasting tool. Say, for example, when he was coming at the age of 30, he had a very good HbA1c. At the age of about 40, when he comes to the same laboratory, he might be having a borderline HbA1c. Say, for example, he's having 6.2. With the history, the laboratory is going to track down and say that in another 3 years, you might become a diabetic. So you have to adapt to that of modification of the diet or help him in physical exercise or have a consult itself. Similarly, with that of the urine, suppose the urine was showing only a trace protein 5 years back. Now you have got protein 2 plus. It's going to upgrade to that of saying that you are probably getting into the bracket of stage 2 of CKD and hence you have to be very careful. So these are predictive insights and the predictive in thoughts what the software that of the AI should be able to help the clinicians. For the patients, how the AI can help. Now, suppose I have got the report from the laboratory on a PDF. Now, when I take that PDF and click on, I should be able to understand with a simple language, what is my blood sugar values, what are my lipid values, what are my LFT values. So is it important for me to understand, to check with that of a physician immediately. Visual and graphical representation by tracking the lipid profiles, LFTs, renal function test, urine protein becomes very helpful. Personal recommendations can be done based upon the predictive analysis for the lifestyle, diet, and follow actions. Now let us see whether Sukraa is able to help us in checklisting this and saying that all this are possible with the Sukraa software what we have got, where we call it as an integrated artificial intelligence to the laboratory information system. So when we take about the complete solution for the modern laboratory, Sukraa can fulfill all the functional requirements of the laboratory information system, seamlessly aligned with that of the ISO 15189 and CAP guidelines for the accreditation itself, helps in proper documentation and helps in end-to-end laboratory workflows, starting from intelligent test ordering to that of an advanced reporting and also robust compliance and interoperability and data security with that of a high amount of data cyber security process itself. Empowers the laboratories to work with dashboards and predictive analytics for proactive decision making itself. So let us just have an overview of how the sale can help us. Now we have got here 3 columns here, just to make you understand these are the functional areas on the extreme left hand side. The middle one are the checklist which we went through, and the right hand side is the one where sale has already satisfied. So you have got the information security. Yes, it has got advanced security. Test ordering, where you have got smart order entry, where you can take a decision support. I-prescription, that's what I told you. When a prescription is scanned, it is going to handle the request by itself. Specimen management, by capturing the photos of the ITRIS sample, hemolyzed sample, or lipemic sample, it's going to help us in the triaging of the samples. Next, analytical management helps us in real-time interfacing and QC scheduling. Validation, I already told you, have auto validation and delta checks. And result reporting has got an interpretive reporting and an informed CDSS is also available. Next, further down, we have got compliance to that of the LINAC and ICD, and becomes easy for to abide with that of the HL and the EHR regulations itself. So globally, this is already working very well. Has got an AI workflow optimization with dashboards, including the proficiency and the QC management. Specimen quality management can be based with real-time databases. Then you have got quality indicators on the hemolysis, lipemia, and cord detection. Downtime, you have a robust recalibration and instrument health monitoring, and you have a cloud management. CDSS has already been tagged on with organ-based algorithms, and you do get a smart report with visualization and personalized nutritional recommendations. So the three phases where the Sukraa sale or the Sukraa LIMS can help us in your pre-analytical phase, analytical phase, and the post-analytical phase. Just to review in a simple words, when you have got triaging, you can triage with that of the results based upon the analysis, based upon the multi-rule AI engine. You can do the analysis of the results, and you can do it whether it is urgent or star. Reduces the reorders and prioritize the laboratory personnel work list, especially with that of the pending list. Highlights that the patient results is based upon the clinical significance and the turnaround time. So we are just getting into how the sale looks. So sale looks like this. This is the opening screen of the sale, where you have got 9 brackets here. You have got equipment maintenance, QC bracketing, analyte calibration, analytical interferences, critical results, abnormal results, delta checks, clinical decision supports, and the total pending. If you just go back a few minutes back, where we told most of these things were already there in the ISO standards as well as the CAP checklist itself. So let us see how the dashboard looks. The dashboard looks pretty simple. It says that how many of the reports have been held for the authorization. This is the manual authorization itself. So when you review this, you might be going to release many of them. Next, you have got auto authorization. How many reports have been done? 1,698 reports have already been reported. Authorization, you have already have got 1721, which has been already done without any clinical decision support. And you have a total results is around 2,000. The auto-authorization dashboard meter is also here, where it says that how many reports percentages have been already been released. And these are the standards and the guidelines of various international laboratory quality and competence, where we are abiding to that of the dashboard display itself. Next, coming to that of the automated analytical decision making. So we had described that LIS has been divided into two, the analytical decision making and the clinical decision making. In the analytical decision making, Sukraa software is able to help us out in getting out the capturing the quality control data, captures QC results with lot-to-lot verification, record manufacturer mean or CV. It can also get onto customization of the laboratory decided mean itself. We can get onto that of measurement uncertainty, float the QC bracketing, integrate the QC software, and helps us to capture the outlier and preventive and the corrective actions also. It will also bring in the interference flags, for example, hemolysis, icterus, turbidity, holds the results for the test tube which has got air bubble detection, platelet clumps, or any other zero result validity what you get itself. Coming to the equipment maintenance, Sukraa software, which is also SAFE, will be able to help us to understand which machines are requiring maintenance, which requires calibration. Calibrations can be again divided into critical and non-critical, and track of the daily maintenance, weekly maintenance, and the monthly maintenance can be given in a crisp and a short dashboard display. Calibrations captures the calibrated for the analytes, captures the calibration for the equipments, captures the calibration which is holding the results for the manual intervention and for your inputs, and verifies the accuracy of the measuring device and calibrates accordingly to what you have decided. Coming to the clinical decision making, which is the second arm of the sale, critical results, all critical results will be shown as in a different color or a different range, where you have got as a shortlisted, which I'm going to show you. And it is going to help us out in synchronizing the test values based on the algorithms, what you have divided, which is traceable. Clinical decision support based upon the international guidelines and the CLSI algorithms itself. Abnormal results, all the abnormal results are held for the defined reference ranges after the delta checks has been done. Once the delta checks have where you have been given with an per absolute defined values as per the EP23 guidelines, then the reports can either go for auto verification or come for the manual authorization itself. Now, this is how the critical gate result looks like. So you have got here the clinical information where you can get from the information. When you click this three dots, it will display fever for past 3 days. Now here you have got all the red markings here, which shows that these are abnormal reports. And most important here, it shows is the glucose values, which is 378, and HDL values are very less. And it says that this critical results may be because of the glucose which you have been defined here. So that becomes a critical result gate which harbors customizable reports for your laboratory. Abnormal result gates, whenever you have got an abnormal result, say suppose for example sodium in this is very high. How will I know that? There is a small dash what you're getting here. This has been also showing that this has been edited. So here you have got 145. It is coming on the higher range, but you have told that whenever I have a sodium on a higher range, I want an alert. It has been done. Next, you have got the beta HCG here, where the values are more than 3000, and you have an alert here to say that proceed to dilution. So whenever you have got tumor markers or beta HCG, which is one of the marker for the pregnancy, you have to do a dilution to give you the endpoint titration. So that can also be obtained from sale product itself. Next, delta check gate. When you open the delta check gate, which has been shown in the information as a trend over here, when you click that button, the patient's previous data is displayed here. So you have a graphical representation, which also can be printed in the smart report, and it can be given to the patient, where it shows you the trend, whether you are doing good or bad itself. These green flags, what you are seeing like a battery, helps us to understand that the reports are within the turnaround time. If the reports are not within the turnaround time, the color changes to that of the red. Now, coming to the CDSs at the clinician level as well as the laboratory level, I've just got one of the examples of an hemoglobin here, of an RBC value here, which is 4.15, and the peripheral smear is to be reviewed. Then when you are reviewing the peripheral smear, you can click on this histogram here, where it will show you the histograms of the RBCs, scatter plots of that of the machine itself. So at your mobile or your gadget, you'll be able to see without walking to the machine what is happening to the histograms of the platelets, RBCs, WBCs, as well as that of the scatter plot of the reticulocyte channel. So it will also give you a trend, and it will also give us an interpretive comment that it may be microcytic hypochromic cells. It might require your review. So if you have already seen, you can click on this saying that this advisory report is going to be put. This advisory remarks, what has been there, is customizable. It is customizable to your laboratory. However, I wish to inform you that capture of the histograms, scatter plots is possible from the Sage Sukraa software, and you will be able to see the histograms and the scatter plots of the machines. Now, this is how a smart report has been generated from the sale, where you have got good, bad, ugly by your colors, and you also have a beautiful values what you're going to get over here. In addition, you'll also be able to get the recommendations what I was telling across, the nutritional assessment, do's and do nots for a healthy living itself. In short, when you're looking into the product of the sale, you have got adoption of the artificial intelligence to that of an ideal checklist which has been defined by the ISO, has got most of the functionalities with respect to that of the delta checks, QC bracketing, analytical management, and clinical decision management also. Now, how do we get this into? So if you have looked into our dig up about how these are, this is being powered by a team of more than 100 people. And we have doctors in the forum who are working with that of getting the algorithms from the societies. Like for example, cardiological societies or the American Journal of Nephrologists. where you have got organ algorithms, which we have taken with the traceability for the guidelines to be adopted to the CDSS or the AI in the product. An algorithm factory is based upon the international guidelines, and we have database, and from our software, you can give even the links, hyperlinks to that of your clinicians, where they can review these scientific guidelines which are updated on real-time basis. Now, the next main question is that what are all the guidelines in association with that of the ISO? The CLSI guidelines, which are mapping the LIS travel journey for the Sukraa, has been bracketed over here. So, starting from the equipment maintenance gate, where CLSI QMS 13A is adopted, and the ISO 6.4, 6.45, 6.46, 6.47, 7.32 is being integrated. QC bracketing as per the 7.3.7 of the ISO 15189 and the CLSI C24A3. Analyte calibration gate as per the equipment calibration and the meter interoperable traceability. CLSI guidelines for the interferences with respect to the pre-examination of the ISO and the CLSI, and the critical gate results as per the CLSI GP47 and the reporting of the results. In addition to these are the CLSI guidelines for the analytical management, which we have got and we have adopted in the SAIL, linearity for the analytical measuring range, biological reference interval, delta check gates, and the clinical decision support. So in short, when you are going to handle the SAIL product, you are assured that the international guidelines as well as the standard has been maintained with the high cyber security systems itself. So it has also been noted to have 50 algorithms and 450 diagnoses which you can do immediately and increase your productivity of the laboratory. And moving forward, you can have more than 100 algorithms and 1,000 diagnoses in the end of 2025 itself. So I think with artificial intelligence based LIMS, you are empowering the futuristic healthcare generations to have the AI driven solutions. These solutions are going to be effective to bring in a patient centric and patient safety centric laboratory rather than thinking that I will lose my job. So please do not think that this artificial intelligence is going to get me onto the product of I lose my job. It is going to enhance the productivity of your laboratory, make sure that your reports are having lesser errors, and make sure you have a clinician who is satisfied. So thank you so much for your patient listening, and the session is open for question and answers. Participants, I request if you have any questions, you can please shoot out now. Okay, there is a question from Christy Francis. Does the AI engine require higher bandwidth? No, I don't think that it requires a higher bandwidth. It's the same internet what you are using in your laboratory. Okay, there is one more question from Christy Francis. Does AI make mistakes while applying the algorithms that are programmed? What are the guardrails in the place? Now, we have already having this algorithms working in laboratories in India as well as in global markets. And whenever there is any of the errors which do happen, we are alerted to that of the customer care and they're taking care of it. But till today, we have not trained or got any experiences of making a mistakes from the programmed AI decision making algorithms. Yes, of course, we have a guardrails in the place where you can take the feedback and try to see whether it goes on with that of the international guidelines and can help us from the customer relationship managers who settle here in Chennai. Next, we have one more question from Malini, which says that I need to integrate with the HIS. Is there any plugin module and will there be integration work to be done? Now, the Sukraa softwares are having plugins which are easy and does not require any of the buyers to integrate with that of your instruments or from instruments to that of your HIS and LIS. So I don't think so you'll be having any problems when you have going to that of the HIS. But the implementation team would like to understand the syntax of the HIS before programming for the particular HIS itself. Okay, there's one more question from Radha Swami, which says that how does an AI-based LIS handle exceptions or ambiguous test results? It comes into the manual. So whenever you have got an ambiguous or an what you call abnormal reports, which you think that the machines are not able to handle, it will be staggered to that of the manual evaluation itself. It is not going to go for an auto verification. You have to take a deep dive into an ambiguous results which you have got. For example, you have got a potassium of 12. I already told you that whenever you have got abnormal results, it goes in for two things. Either it will go in for that of delta check, or it will make sure that this is out of the reference range, checks the analytical balance, and comes back to you saying that analytically I don't have anything, but I saw that in the pre-analytical itself you had a hemolysis there, which the machine failed to pick it up. But we are able to pick up and say that yes, there is a hemolysis, and hence I have withheld this report itself. So I think that way the ambiguous results and the handle the unexpected unusuals can be prevented itself. There's one more question from Dr. Amol has asked how we can start working with you to get a first-hand view of this service. Amol Shinde, I think you have registered with us, and our team from Sukraa will be able to touch base with you with an email as well as that of the phone number, and you can start working. And we also have what is called as a short time validation period, where you can have the software given to you and you can have at least about 1 hour of practice on a real-time data basis to understand how this LIS can work. If there is a need be, we can connect on a Gmeet and we can show you the product and one-to-one discussion can happen. That's most acceptable, Dr. Amol. There is one more question from Kaushal, which says that can you provide or offer further changes to the LIS to our, yes, of course, this is customizable. That's what I want to visually say, that these are customizable and the customizable percentage is only 20%. 80% is already in place. You have to get into the customizable version only for about 20% of your needs. Suppose you want to change the reference ranges or the critical test or the critical values, then we can go ahead and do it. Okay, there is one more question from Radha. Can smaller labs benefit from AI if they don't have a huge sample? Yes, we are working on that. We are working on the smaller labs also. I think Radha Swami will be in touch with you because you have registered with us with your mobile number and the contact email ID. Our customer care manager will get touch base with you to connect with you to understand what is your requirement. And smaller labs can pitch in. So suppose you have want to buy only clinical chemistry, you can buy only clinical chemistry. You want to buy only the hematology, you can buy only the hematology. But if you want to have a good work throughput, even for a small labs, you can go for the economic pack, what the management can offer you, and hence they'll be in touch with you, Radha. That's what I can give you as the current perspective now. So I think it's 4 o'clock now, and I take an opportunity to thank all of you for spending some time with us. And I really appreciate your interactions. And it was a very good interactive session for me and learning from your questions as well as from learning to us. And all the participants, I would like to have a big thank you for participating in this patient-centric artificial intelligence program from Sukraa, and wish you all a great weekend itself. Thank you.